So Ben went and bought these chairs. If you do watch on YouTube, you'll see the chairs that Ben bought. They're wing-backed, leather blue, ridiculously ugly chairs that he bought from.
Oh, I think they're cool.
That he bought from
very retro and 70s.
He bought from a health clinic, I guess. It was
a mental
health clinic that was
going out of business sale.
Was it going? Is that what it was? Something.
Not enough crisis in the world anymore. Apparently,
mental health has been fixed.
Good job, America.
And or we just continue to ignore the problem. Probably more likely.
Also, good job, America.
So, the important thing is we got these chairs for $50, and now anytime we move, we hear it.
For those of you not watching on YouTube, that is the sound of the chair. Now, that wasn't the sound of the chair, and I apologize. $25 a piece.
Yeah.
But aren't they comfortable? You know why they're so comfortable? It's because many butts have sat in these chairs and talked about their feelings.
Yes.
So I felt that they were perfect for us sitting and talking about our feelings.
In this podcast.
Yeah.
Our podcast feelings.
Yeah.
Our feelings toward podcasts.
Welcome.
Fresh out the box. Stop. Look and watch. Ready yet? Get set. It's
the Feeling Podcast.
Eat my short. Not the mama. Not the mama.
Goodbye.
So I wanted to talk about Barbenheimer. Or Barbie. Is it Barbieheimer? It's Barbenheimer. That's what? Have you heard this phrase, Barbenheimer? It's a trending topic.
No.
It's very trendy right now.
Barbenheimer?
Barbenheimer. So this is the idea that you go to the box office this weekend and you see both Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Why?
Because they're so different from each other. And it's a trending thing to do. In our day and age, this would have been called a double feature.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, we did those.
But, they're acting like this is a new idea. Hey, go see Oppenheimer and see Barbie. Aha, it's so funny, right? Because it's,
Why aren't they seeing Sound of Freedom? Because I saw that last week and it was awesome.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are.
It was really good.
Oh, such a good
And that's a true
movie.
story. Well, so is Oppenheimer, I guess.
Yes.
And Barbie definitely isn't.
Barbie's not.
Well, I haven't seen either of them yet. I intend to see Oppenheimer at the very least. Barbie isn't really meant for my demographic. In fact, if I went in there by myself, I think a lot of people would be looking at me funny. So
I don't know.
Apparently, it's quite the film. So I don't know. There's contrast, but the most important thing I think in the midst of this is to note that the double feature is not a new thing.
Right.
Yeah.
We're revitalizing an old thing, but both movies grossed way over what the expectation was, and a lot of it was because of the social trend of Barbenheimer of going and trying to see both of these movies on the same weekend.
So you think that they did better because people wanted them to do better?
Well, people have been writing reviews essentially saying things like, one movie was, bold and energetic and taught me all the things that I needed to know about the inner workings of the world and what's happened to mankind. And the other was Oppenheimer. So these reviews.
Oh man!
So
that's terrifying.
I started thinking about this, and I thought, what if we had done that with our favorite '90s movies?
Sure.
If we had gone and we saw these movies for ourselves in double feature settings, and we wrote the same type of review. So I thought, here's Toy Story and 7.
Oh, 7, though it's 7 Deadly Sins?
Yes.
Yeah.
So 1 is a quest to stop a madman from killing and dismembering unexpected toys, and the other is 7. That work?
Yep.
So then I thought, okay, how about Space Jam and Independence Day? We'd call it Independence Jam. And one is about ensuring freedom from an alien race bent on world domination, and the other is Independence Day.
Yeah, those both work.
Yeah, I think that we can. It's a pretty good review.
Right.
So we have Titanic and Men in Black.
Oh my.
Okay, and we call it Timanic. Was that not the time to swallow a drink?
Yeah, it gave me a bubble.
Titanic. One
Titanic.
One of these films is about a man who has no future in his current role, and so he leaves his identity behind, hoping to find something better in a new world. And the other is Titanic.
Yes, but in one movie, there's plenty of room on the door. And the other movie is Men in
Listen,
Black.
if we start getting into...
Oh, I just can't. I can't with it.
If we start getting into all the problems with Rose and the door scene, we could do a
How
whole...
selfish.
It's a whole new podcast.
Wake up. Wake up, she says. Wake up. Come on. Move over. Scoot over.
Do you like my double feature ideas, Ashley?
Yeah, I love them.
Okay.
You're doing a great job.
Ashley, have you
Can't-
ever seen Titanic?
No, I don't know. No.
Can I tell you my last one? This one's one of my favorites. Braveheart and a Goofy movie.
Oh.
We call it Graveheart. One is a story of a young man being torn away from the only woman he loves by a dictator that thinks he knows what's best. And the other is Braveheart.
Wow.
Roxanne.
I
Roxanne.
know. He's pulled away. Goofy.
That Goofy.
He literally says, I'm your pops. I know what's best.
And I know what's best. Sound anything like a ruthless king to you?
A dictator.
A dictator.
Forcing him into a situation where he has to spend time doing something he doesn't want to do. The opposite of freedom.
I mean,
Of free will.
There are a couple other ones we could do. We could do Saving Private Ryan and Rush Hour. Okay, it gets a little hairy.
Yeah, that's
We could do Jumanji and Babe.
the one with the pig.
Yeah.
I
mean-
love Babe.
Oh, you haven't seen Titanic, but you've
She's
seen Babe.
She loves Babe.
Wait, listen.
She's
I don't think I should talk about it on. I mean,
Babe, the incredible story of a pig that says she wants to be a sheep herder.
Is that what it's about? I can't
I
even
thought Babe
honestly
was a
can't
boy.
remember.
I mean, it is.
Is it?
I don't know. It's a boy that wants to be a sheep. It's a boy pig
Oh,
that wants to
maybe-
be a sheep. But we got all sorts of
sheepdog.
issues there.
Sheepdog.
Yeah.
Oh, a
That'll do,
sheepdog.
pig.
That'll do, pig. Baram you.
Well, if there's one thing I
Babe.
learned from the
Wait.
Barbie movie, it's that you can be anything you want to be.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's true.
the
That's
pig
one of the
wants to be a
highlightings.
sheepdog. It is what it is.
He's a sheepdog. Boy,
Fair.
the undertones that would be talked about in that movie today.
Well,
Back then, it was just normal.
Right.
to be fair, I've never seen the Barbie movie,
Right.
so I just assume.
But you
based
have
off
seen
of
Babe.
reviews and things like that.
Yeah.
I think that your idea is great,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like we need to schedule some time to watch all of these movies back to back.
Yes.
Some with our kids, some without.
Right.
I don't think that the boys would do too well in 7, personally.
No. That one's pretty
And
rough.
I think Titanic's a little mature as well.
Well, and it's honestly
Also
so
Saving
Saving Private
Private
Ryan and Braveheart. And
Right.
listen, if we start
So
getting into
basically-
semantics,
Basically, they can't watch any of them.
well, I mean, honestly, Barbie is PG-13 as well. So and Oppenheimer, I think, is R. So I don't know that I would.
Yeah.
I don't know.
okay,
that,
so the kids stay home.
really, this is not a kid's adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just was trying to line out some of the more, I think that the takeaway from this is all movies essentially are doing the same thing.
Sure.
They're telling a good story.
Yeah.
Right. You're gonna try.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Start with there's a hero, there's a conquest, there's a
I think
dragon.
it's,
The dragon's
if there is
overcome,
one
the
nice thing about this, we've got the Barbie and Oppenheimer that are bringing people back to the theater, right? And the same thing with Sound of Freedom, is bringing people into that. That theater was packed. The entire theater was full when we were in there. Sean and I barely got a seat, and it was when we walked out into the lobby. This was a 4:30 show. We were waiting in line to get our popcorn.
Yeah.
That hasn't. I mean, I haven't been to
Yeah.
a movie where that's happened in.
Yeah.
Well,
in a while.
I was actually just talking to Jeff about this I was in Portland this last weekend on a shoot, and I was talking to Jeff about, the issues that we've seen in Hollywood and how essentially with the writer's strike and, with the introduction of AI technology and all of the other things that are kind of coming. I mean, we were on our way to a bubble bust, it came to Hollywood. Like, they were struggling to make money on anything.
Right.
And this is actually the first. I think that the reason this has hit so many headlines and it's got so big as far as with Barbie and Oppenheimer is because, I mean, we're kind of waiting for the bubble to burst on entertainment when it came to Hollywood. You know, between streaming, between Instagram, between every other. I mean, there's so many things that are grabbing for our desired entertainment now that it's just a whole different world, and to compete in that is very difficult. And so, I think that the nostalgic people that we are, you know, that there's just always been this desire to get back to the theater, and
I love going to the movie. I did when we were kids. We loved going to the movie. That was the thing. You know what I mean? Like mom, we used to have dollar movies.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Dollar movie theaters
and double features where we'd go and spend the whole afternoon in the movie theater watching, you know, things back to back.
Basically what these were was, you know, at the end of the release time. So there was always it wasn't like streaming today, right? There was a long period between the movie was in theaters, the movie got out of theaters, and then you're waiting for it to come out on video, right? Dollar movie theaters would buy up the rights to play the movie right before it released to video, and they would charge $1 for everybody that came in to attend. So when you were part of a family of 4 and wanted to go to the movies, guess when you went to see the fancy new releases? About 3 or 4 months after they were released, right?
Which was always fine because it was usually 6 months before they were on video.
Yeah. You know.
Well, and nowadays that's part of the problem is that streaming services have made it in such a way that if you don't see it in the theater, you're going to see it on streaming within a month, 2 months of when the theater dropped it.
You know, corporations like Disney have made themselves their own worst enemy by making things so quickly available to view on their streaming service.
I hadn't been to a movie in a movie theater in a really long time. Sound of Freedom was like the first movie I would watch in a while in a movie theater. And what I love about seeing a movie in a movie theater is that I'm totally focused on the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
When I watch a movie at home, I want to get, you know, something to work on, something to do while I watch the movie. Or
you got your cell phone out and you're playing a game.
I can't even pull my phone out in a movie theater because it's rude.
Right.
You know, and so, but at home, I can do, you're just busy. You can pause it. You can go do other things.
No, you're absolutely right. You have to see it start to finish. In fact, you've got to make sure that you've got an empty bladder, which is my mistake. Last time I went to that movie theater.
You know, it's interesting you say
Which
that, Ashley.
I think it's the AMC's fault. They really shouldn't give you such big cups.
Oh, well, or you should just be aware of your body and what it's capable of holding.
My body keeps changing. I'm getting older, and my bladder doesn't work the way that it used to.
Maybe it's time to look into getting a new bladder.
If you know of a place where I can purchase a black market bladder, go ahead and Q in.
We're just going to leave that in the Q in.
Leave us an Apple review.
So it's interesting that you say that because, you know, I've noticed that even when I'm trying to sit down with my kids to watch a movie, a lot of times, like, most of them will sit down and one of them will want to play while he's listening or watching the movie. And I'm like, no, come sit down. We're watching the movie together. Like even being able to, this must be a break the cycle thing. Like, you do not have to be dual entertained.
Right.
You can be singularly entertained and enjoy the movie, and I'll give you some popcorn if you need something to do with your hands.
Well,
you know,
but that's we've become that though.
Right.
I mean, if we sit down and watch something as a family, at the end of the day, Shonda's watching reels or something like that, and I'm normally playing a game on my phone or something. But it's rare, I think, that you actually sit down and focus completely in, like what Ashley's talking about, which is, I think you're right. I think this is probably the first time I've literally gone, you know what, this is what I'm doing. And that's why a lot of times I'll put on movies that I've seen before instead of putting something on new that I haven't seen before because I don't want to lose the plot. You know?
And you don't want to lose the time that you're investing into the movie. Like, I mean, I've got tons of movies I'd love to see that I want to see. But actually having the time to see them without having to do something else while I'm doing it, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we've become a society that is too, you know, we multitask too much.
We just love being busy. Yeah. We're addicted to being busy. But the other thing that I'm curious about, and I can't say that this is happening at this point, but I'm curious if it will happen. And I love that the people are going to movie theaters. Like, I just think that's cool. That's kind of it's bringing people to movie theaters. I just think that's fun because it's a fun experience.
It's good for the theaters too,
right?
Like
but
these family-owned businesses.
It's an experience that is cool. I think Gen Z, I think Gen Z is going back to flip phones and stuff, and I'm curious if rebellion for Gen Z is kind of reverting back
Yeah.
from technology and things like that. So I'm
I-
curious
I,
if
I
like
found that it's probably a trend. But
You think it's a trend?
I think that rebellion among the younger society is always a thing. Like there's always going to be
you have
a
to do
piece.
what's edgy, but I just wonder if what's edgy. I'm not saying this is happening now.
I
I'm
would
just
love
curious
to
if
go
it
back
would-
to flip phone age.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
I'm
funniest
curious
thing
if
is
it will
is the
happen.
rebellion of Gen Z is actually the same rebellion that's happening in our older generations of going, I don't want to learn this new thing,
Right.
you know. But it's interesting because we're teetering. We're on a line right now. And I was going to talk a little bit about AI later, but we're on that line with AI and
Yeah.
with what's happening.
Yeah.
That we are kind of teetering this line of going, who are we going to become, and are we running too far and too fast away from what we are and what defined us?
Well, listen. Okay, I get it. AI, right? What happened to flying cars?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. There are areas that we can focus our attention.
Yeah. Have you seen the prototypes for the new drone, the drone technology,
pretty cool.
where it jumps off the sides of buildings
But what I'm getting at is this. Like,
with people in it?
Oh yeah, I have seen that. That's
AI is
insane.
one of those future things,
Right.
Right? That, the future, and then that's going to take over the world. We skipped straight to Terminator, and
Right.
we missed like
All of
the
the other
Jetsons.
things. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, let's
Do some flying cars. Some
I don't know, something. I mean, like let's look at Back to the Future too.
I don't know, but
Like do we? Let's try and hit some of those goals.
You
I mean,
know,
we're past the date
there
at this
are-
point.
You make a good point though. There's some inventions that I'm like, we have not made something to make life easier with certain things, but we're doing other stuff.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
we did invent a better light bulb. Let's be honest
That's
with
true.
ourselves. That's
Yeah,
what I
wow,
mean.
you
talk
were
about-
so right.
Yeah,
The ones with the speakers in the middle of them.
Oh my gosh, like I love that. I love my light bulb speakers.
Funny. It's
So-
the funniest thing.
It's it is interesting that that we've done so much and come so far in certain ways. And it's not to say
And
that
we say the
those-
word "we" very loosely. Obviously, I don't know how any of these things work. In fact, if I was to go back in time tomorrow, I wouldn't be able to tell anybody how to make any
No,
difference.
I think our job is
all.
to learn to market them well without knowing at all what they do.
Sure.
Right. I read a book that was interesting that was kind of about that recently, of a guy that goes back in time and realizes he doesn't know how to do any of the things that he has all sorts of clever ideas, but he can't do
That's
anything
funny.
with them.
There's a comedian that his name's Nate. I can't think of his last name.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Anyway, but he says that he's like he talks about how stupid he is, and he
Yeah.
says if I was to go back in time tomorrow, nothing would change.
Nothing would change.
There'd be a person on a rotary phone, and he'd be dialing something, and be like, "Hey, at some point you're gonna be able to put your phone in your pocket." And he goes, "Oh yeah, tell me more about that." And he says, "I can't.
I don't know
I
anymore.
have no idea. I think
don't
it.
know.
I think it has something to do with a satellite." And he goes, "What's a satellite?" And he goes, "Got me."
A metal disc thing
Yeah,
in space.
it's like this metal disc thing that flows around in space. I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so nothing gets any. He goes back in time and nothing changes.
right. Well, and I mean that's probably most of us.
I would
So-
probably invest though. Like I think that I would know.
in
like,
what?
I don't know.
I
I'd
guess it depends on how far you go
pick
back.
some of these companies.
if you
Apple.
go, if you go back to the middle, if you go back to the Middle Ages, you're just
Sure.
another person
Yeah, how
in the
far
Middle
back are
Ages.
you going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you talk about you couldn't even tell them how to invent air
Send me,
conditioning.
the 20s. Give me back to the 20s. That'll give me some.
You could do some things in the 20s.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna buy some stock certificates and just
okay.
let it ride. I don't know. Do they have stock in the 20s?
I'm sure.
See,
they
this
do.
is how uneducated I am.
Yes. The stock market did exist in the 20s.
Oh, yeah, that's good enough. Oh, yeah, that's what crashed.
Right. So that's the Great Depression and all of that came from stock market crash.
Wow. So
So, in other words, Ben, much like Nate, should not go back in time.
don't send me back.
He'd say,
don't
"What year is this?
send me
now,
back."
what exactly is happening this year?"
Speaking of good 90s movies, Blast from the Past.
Oh yeah, that one's
Do you remember Brandon Fraser?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one is good.
It's about a guy that speaking of Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
They're waiting for the big one to drop, right? This is during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Okay.
And
Was it? Oh wait, it was. Yeah. Was it Cuban Missile? I thought it was.
maybe it was prior to that.
I think it was the Cold War. It was Russia.
Anyway,
Okay.
man and his wife go down into their bomb shelter, which is basically a
With their
replica
child.
of. No, he's born down there.
Oh, is he? That's right.
It's a replica of their house above ground. Exactly the same. Yeah.
No.
And it's a comedy, right? But
Okay.
it's like the state of the art bomb shelter, and they think the big one happens. Okay, the big blast or whatever. Really, a plane just crash lands on their real house. Okay, so Dad has timers set up on their vault that won't allow them outside of the vault until 30 years in the future, when all of the radiation has dissipated.
Oh no.
So
they're sealed in there.
they are sealed completely in there.
Plane
They've got
crashes.
all
They
the
think
all
that
the
it's been a
food and
blast.
everything. And Brandon Fraser's character is the child who grows up completely ensconced in the 60s, 70s
Yeah.
time frame, right?
All of his music's in the 70s, all the things he has.
So when he comes out of the bomb shelter, he walks into modern day and is still treating everybody like it's still in that time period.
Wow.
Now, so you talk about a wild ride.
Tell you, so if this
Things
happened to us, because I mean, as entertaining as this is for Ashley, who's never seen the movie,
Oh,
I
sorry.
should hope
Sorry.
that there are
I was
several
really
others.
engaged.
Yes, I could tell. Ashley loves to hear the plot of movies and never watch the movies, but just listen to us tell
when
her
I
about
do
them.
watch the movies, I'm absorbed.
I believe you.
I think that you would enjoy that one.
Yeah, it sounds
That's a good
like
one.
a fun one.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's a romp.
You might look at the review before you put her through it. So it could be a little saucy.
You introduced her to.
Don't start going down that road. That's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Yep. Nope. It's best to look first. Best to look. Review it. Reminder. Tends to be that Ben and I are really good at editing out bad stuff on movies. Like mentally, we'll just pretend it was never there. And
In your memory, you edit it.
in our memory, we edit it completely
It's
out.
all clean.
I've gotten in trouble with that multiple times. My parents call them Luke picks.
Oh yeah.
Anytime I suggest a movie, because I just completely edit out the bad content. And I go, oh yeah, it's a great movie, and I don't recall. And then my parents will watch it and they'll go, Luke, that was the most horrendous.
Yeah, if you haven't seen The Butterfly Effect, that's the
Yeah.
one that he introduced to my
Don't introduce
parents.
that one to your parents as a pick. So
Okay.
all of you that are thinking, oh, I remember The Butterfly Effect, I liked that.
There's stuff in there
There's
that you
stuff
don't
in there
remember.
that you're not remembering. Don't tell your parents about it.
Yeah.
It's not the appropriate
In fact, why
choice.
did you see it? Shame on you.
It's called a Luke pick.
Ah.
I didn't know any better.
Yeah, do better. Everyone.
Our listeners out
Let's
there, if you've seen it, shame on you as
be
well.
honest, I was probably 17 when I saw that, and so I'd like to think I've grown in the last 20 years.
Okay.
You have.
Mostly out, not
Yes.
so much up. Oh.
Oh,
If
you're
you'd
young,
like to
skinny, and
comfort me,
beautiful.
if you'd like to comfort me right now, go ahead and just cue in.
Yeah, please leave an
Just a-
Apple review to comfort Luke.
A nice little
Apple
something.
review.
All right. Well, the 90s phrase of the day today is home skillet.
Home skillet.
It's another word for friend back in the 90s slang world.
Hey, home skillet.
Sup?
Home skillet.
Home skillet. Either phrase was a appropriate form of greeting for a 90s teen.
Where did skillet come from, though?
I don't know. So I looked this up. It says home skillet is a proper noun used to describe a Caucasian male from rural areas who thinks he possesses the same street cred as an African-American male from the hood. This individual may be seen wearing a wave cap and a flat-billed hat. Subject may also be witnessed wearing urban apparel, gold chains and talking in ebonics. The term is said to have been generated in southwestern Kansas by Mr. J.L. Weiser whilst making fun of said individual, home skillet. So apparently it used to be a preppy rich guy that people,
that
hated,
wanted to be in the urban.
that wanted to be black. A rich white guy that wanted to be black and pretended he had the credit to do so and was been made fun of and called home skillet. I imagine because, he had a home cooked meal made out of a skillet.
I don't know where home. That doesn't really explain the
it doesn't
terminology.
give a whole lot of lineage, but I do remember.
I do think it's funny that Mr. J.L. Weiser gets credit for it, though. That's it's very rare that somebody actually gets credit for a term that they coined. It just kind of makes its way through society.
And that is true. I'm trying to remember how often I used home skillet. I don't think ever.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I remember hearing it.
I do remember hearing it. Yep.
Do you remember the song by Offspring, Pretty Fly for a White Guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what you think of.
Yeah.
Well, he would have been a home skillet.
I see.
So, and it turned into a term of endearment. So it started out as like something that you'd make fun of a white guy that was like that. You'd call him a home skillet. I was never a home skillet by that definition. So, although, I maybe knew a few.
Do we need to? I mean, I don't. I mean, is that? Are we using it as a term of endearment?
Yes,
or
that's
are
what we did.
Okay.
So, if you have an opportunity this week to say, "What's up, home skillet?"
I will.
Take it.
I will take that opportunity.
Yes.
But I will use it as a term of endearment.
Right. Because we don't want to make fun of anybody.
No.
That's not who we are.
No. No.
No.
Yeah.
The 90s phrase of the week is bounce.
Bounce.
Let's bounce.
Oh, I think I still use that.
You definitely do. Hey, I got to bounce.
I got to bounce.
You say that all the time when you're getting off the phone.
Yeah.
Got to bounce.
So, yeah.
I'm a bouncer.
So, well, that's actually funny that you say I'm a bouncer. That's where the term came from.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm outie. I'm going to bounce. It came from leaving the club by way of the bouncer.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're being bounced, right? I'm
So
going to bounce means
they
I'm
say-
leaving before the bouncer bounces me.
I
Very interesting.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now,
Or is it a preemptive, like, hey, I'm fixing to get bounced?
yes. So I'm out of here. I'm going to bounce.
Well, what
I'm
if
gonna
it's
bounce
like
before I'm bounced?
What if they want to get bounced? Like, that's what it started. Hey, I'm going to get bounced.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm going to get
and
bounced.
then they
Like
just
they're gonna go get in trouble.
yeah, and then they just slam a beer bottle against somebody's head or something like that, and
And
wait
then-
for the bouncer to throw them out. Like,
it is one way to leave dramatically.
yeah,
Yeah.
on a high note.
So if you have an opportunity this week to be bounced,
Well, I promise you, I'll say that one. Huh?
yeah, or bounce.
Apparently, I work that into my conversations anyway.
It's funny to find out the terms that you use today that actually aren't really cool anymore.
It's not funny to find those out. No, it makes me feel old and sad.
Well, it's because,
I'm old and sad.
yes, I'm sorry.
The following podcast
Eat my short. Not the mama, not the mama.
Goodbye.